Hey, this is H1. We're going to be running it back with another episode talking about chess knowledge, chess wisdom, and chess understanding. And today I got a game for you. And yes, the title is Checkmate Your Opponent Without a Queen. And this game is very interesting because we got, for the white pieces, Edward Lasker. And then for the black pieces, we got George Thomas. And this game was played in 1912. And it was in London, and it was just a casual game, so I don't think it was even a rated game. Oddly enough, we know about it, so let's go through the game. All right, so Lasker started off the game with d4, and after the move d4, then Thomas decided to play e6, knight f3, and then f5 that initiated the Horowitz defense. And after f5 was played, we got the move knight c3 and then knight f6. And then the computer decided to give me some more moves that was played in the game, which was bishop g5, pinning that knight to the queen. And so if this knight ever moves, we will capture the queen on the d8 square. And this is on the h4 to d8 diagonal. It's very common, but Thomas decided to pretty much break that pin by putting a piece right here, this bishop, to e7. And now this knight can move freely. And then Lasker has something up his sleeve, even though this was 1912 and we can't take all these openings seriously in the early 1900s since they didn't have chess engines back then. But we can learn, we can learn a lot of things about the principles that they used back then, just not the openings. Bishop takes on f6 was played in this game. This haven't been played that many times. All I see is like 3 times it was played. But hey, white has had all wins in this variation. So clearly Lasker knew what he was doing. And so after bishop takes on f6 and then bishop takes on f6, then Lasker decided to play the move e4 to target the center. And so if the f-pawn captures, we're going to capture back with the knight. We're going to be attacking the bishop. And it's going to be a good game for the white pieces since all these pieces on the queen side is not looking good for Thomas at this moment. After the move e4 was played by Lasker, then Thomas was like, I'm just going to take this pawn on the e4 square. Why not? What's the best case scenario? Letting you take my pawn on the f5 square, and then now I don't have the center pawns? So Thomas took. Lasker took back with the knight on the c3 square, going to e4, attacking the bishop. And then after this, we got the moves b6, trying to feed and kettle the bishop to attack the knight. But after b6 was played, Lasker played a weird move. Knight to e5 wasn't exactly the best move. It's not exactly an inaccuracy too, but usually in opening principles, you don't want to move the piece twice. But these are grandmasters and sometimes they like breaking the rules. So you're just going to have to take it with the... What's that saying? I don't know what saying I'm even trying to say, but all I know is that grandmasters understand the intricacies in certain positions more than others. And after the move knight to e5, then Thomas was like, I'm just gonna castle. I don't know what you're doing with your knight on the e5 square. Then Lasker pretty much messed up by doing the move bishop d3. The computer wanted Lasker to do the move g3 in this position. Because of this specific scenario, even though Thomas didn't see the best move and just did bishop b7, Thomas could have done bishop takes on e5, pawn takes on e5, then knight c6, attacking the pawn. There's not really a good way of how to defend it. Can't push up the f-pawn, rook would just take. Can't do queen h5 because after rook f5, you're forking the queen and the pawn. And even if you do knight to f6 check, like attacking the rook with the bishop, you can just take the knight with... Let me just show you right quick. If the queen moves to h5, trying to protect the pawn, then rook f5 can be played, attacking the queen and the pawn at this moment. You can't even try moves like knight f6 because queen takes f6 is an excellent move. And if you just take my queen back, then I'm going to take your queen on the h5 square and thank you for a free knight in this position. So yeah, there's not really a good way of how to defend that pawn. And yeah, this move was missed and it could have been a winning position for the black pieces. But hey, you know, people lose all the time. People lose opportunities all the time too. And that's why you're going to have a sharp mind looking for forcing moves and figuring out what is my advantages in this position, what is my advantages in that variation. You're always picking and choosing what you want to play. And even in the opening too, he might have not thought to think this far about this capture. And he probably just thought, it's just regular, who cares? So Thomas played bishop b7 and the game continues. But after bishop b7, Steinitz, not Steinitz, we got Lasker doing the move queen h5, getting too close to the king for my comfort. And I don't know, it's kind of scary in this position because you can mess up very easily. And this is exactly what Thomas did after playing the move queen e7, which is a big blunder. And we're not even out of the opening yet because I wanted to do the evaluation, but nope. Only their king is safe at this moment. Their king is castled, but this really isn't a middle game without this king being castled and the rooks being in the game. But I'm just going to show you why queen e7 is a specific mistake, especially after the move queen takes on h7, sacrifice. After queen takes on h7, the only move of that position is taking the queen, figuring out what Lasker is doing in this position. And let me just make sure this is Lasker. Yep, Edward Lasker. And what would be the best move? What is White's best move? You can pause it right now to try to consider what to do. And just to give you a hint, right? Just to give you a hint, you sacrifice the whole queen. So it has to be a forcing move and you have to keep the initiative because if you don't, it could cost you the whole entire game. And so Lasker understood this principle. Okay, I sacrifice a piece. I should already know the next 5 moves that I'm supposed to be doing. So that's why he played the move knight takes on f6, double checking the king with the knight and bishop. And after this move was played, then we got this king going down to h6, which is pretty ugly. Once the king starts running down to like the first rank, you kind of don't want to see that. It's humiliating because this king should be protected by all of these pieces that haven't even passed the 7th rank. But in this scenario, these pieces wasn't developed, the bishop was fianchettoed, and who would have thought that this would have happened? Like, black castled first. Thomas castled first, and he still got into this position. That just shows how ruthless the game of chess can be and why you still have to look out for your opponent's threats. But in this position, Lasker was like, knight e to g4. That was exactly what was played. And now after king to g5, just to tell you, there is checkmate in 4 moves. And the check next was h4, attacking the king. Rook is defending the h pawn. And then after this move, we got king f4, g3, king f3, and then after the move king f3, sadly, the bishop checks the king, bishop e2 check, and the only good move that this king has is king g2. And you can just tell that this king went on a fascinating walk from the g8 square to the g2 square with all of these pieces surrounding the king. What is the next best move? Lasker played rook h2. And after rook h2, only move king g1. What's the best move? And I know you're probably going to be mad of why Lasker didn't play this move, because I would have much rathered a different scenario than what Lasker played. Lasker just played king d2, but just imagine if he would have just queenside castle it. That would have been ugly. But he played king d2 because in his mind, that was more fascinating than the queenside castling version. But in this note, yes, we checkmated the king. without the queen, because we sacrificed the queen to get the attack, and pretty much every single piece had a play on attacking this king. And who would want to be this guy now? You went from G8 to the first rank because Lasker said so. It's crazy. And just to do the evaluation, and I guess you can do it right now. We sacrificed the queen. We have a lot of activity now. Clearly, even though our king wasn't castled, we have more king safety. We have, I don't know, center control is kind of equal since they had that fianchetto bishop. I don't know. And then we definitely have more space to deliver this attack. And I would just say, right now, I would give the pawn structure to the white pieces right now. But we did sacrifice the queen on the h7 square, so it is pretty much equal. If you want to play like this, hey, keep on looking at videos at this channel because I will be going over the classics for the rest of this week, all right? Watch out. I got you. I'm going to make you a grandmaster.